Welcome everyone for the ARC public event, raising awareness about Reiki and how Reiki supports us as practitioners and also our clients and the general public. And today we have two speakers who will share their wisdom about how Reiki can be helpful in times of stress and trauma. And I'll just quickly go about how the session will go. We will have a short meditation. Then I will present our panelists and Hilarius-Ford and Jaimee Mayne. They will have their talks, and then we will have time for questions and answers related to the talk. We will close by saying thanks and showing our future events calendar. If you now just sit back and relax, close your eyes, and just focus on your breath. We are going to do a very little short meditation to connect. Most of us are Reiki practitioners, but if you are not, just place your hands on your body, maybe one hand on your heart and another one on your belly. And take a nice, deep, slow inhale and a slow exhale. And imagine this beautiful light of Reiki coming down through your crown and reaching your hara or your center deep inside your body. And we Reiki practitioners feel this energy now flowing through our hands, through our body. And we invite Reiki to bring peace and clarity and beautiful energy to this session. We also ask Reiki to be gentle and nurturing and loving. Fully embracing this heritage and gift. And we thank Reiki for what it does for us on a daily basis and how it supports us in our work. Take another deep inhale. A slow, long exhale. Fully releasing any tension that you may feel in your body. And connecting with that clear space of good feeling in your heart. And as we continue now, remember that we are always in this connection. You can release your arms into your lap, and when you're ready, open your eyes. And come back into the room. I welcome you all. Thank you for joining. And for today's talk, we have Hilarius-Ford and Jaimee Mayne who will present. They're ARC members, Reiki practitioners, teachers, and healers. and they will share their own stories about how Reiki supported them personally and in their work with clients when it comes to dealing with stress and trauma. And we will start with Anne. Anne sort of faced a challenging time in her life back in 1997. And she found Reiki at that time. She also found reflexology. And in the same year, in 1998, she became attuned to Reiki, traditional Sui Reiki system of hands-on healing. She experienced profound changes in herself and also her clients. She continues to use Reiki and reflexology throughout years since then. She also specialized in foot mobilization and spinal flow technique. Recently, she uses these techniques in combination, and she has found how transformative it was to combine Reiki with other modalities in helping people achieve their goals in terms of healing and bringing back balance in their lives. You can find out more about what Anne does by visiting her website, energyreflexology.com.au. Anne is also someone who coaches others to find their path of healing. She supports women during menopause and helps them find joy and vitality in times, let's say 40, 50 and over, as our life as women change. So have a look at what she does. And please go ahead. It's your time to shine. Tell us your story.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share what I've learned through life and so much more. So in early 1997, my first marriage ended, and living in Melbourne without family, not many friends, I was very, very stressed. And even though I had the children around me, but a friend introduced me to her Reiki master to help me. And that has been amazing. It became my healing path. It started to make me feel more relaxed, which was wonderful, even though when the Reiki master invited me to receive a trial session with 4 of the students, after half an hour, she said, I'll walk back to the car because, you don't know what we keep doing. And I walked to the car and I thought, what happened? But I signed up for level 1, and within a couple of hours, I thought, yes. So that started this whole journey, which has been amazing. So how learning Reiki has changed my life. Ever since high school, I tried to find what I really, really wanted to do. And eventually I became a very qualified secretary at the best secretarial school in Holland. I'm Dutch, even though I grew up in Belgium, so I was trilingual. But yes, I didn't mind my job, but I changed jobs every 2 to 3 years because there was not enough for me. And whatever I looked for, I couldn't find. And when my friend introduced me to her Reiki master, that changed my whole life. And so that I'm 75 in a couple of months, and I'm feeling so full of energy and so happy about how my life has changed since Reiki was introduced into my life. And I believe Reiki brought reflexology into my life because I didn't know anything about it. I never had a treatment. And I signed up for the introductory weekend, and that you can leave it for 2 days and work on family and friends. But again, a couple of hours, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yes, it's it has brought so much more into my life ever since. So I was qualified with reflexology in 2000. And having been a Reiki master, soon after I was qualified with reflexology, I started to teach Reiki. And the feedback I got from many, even the guy who owned the clinic where I worked for 2-3 years, he said, "Oh, you are so inspirational and it's so much fun to listen to you," which was wonderful. And my late husband, he wanted to always live in the tropics. So when I was 60, I thought, oh, I'm ready. So I couldn't teach anymore because you couldn't support your students anymore. But that was okay with me because I made the decision that I was okay to move. Reiki, I knew, was still with me all the time. But even living there, I started to practice a little bit. And coming back fully to Melbourne, I worked more and more. And the benefits I've seen for me is also the benefits for clients when they say, "Oh, this is hurting. This is," no matter what I did on them, as you know, my hands on them, even on the feet only, and facial reflexology, the energy flows. And many people have said to me, "Oh, you're a Reiki channel." And I thought, wow, you can feel that. I hadn't touched them. So that's amazing that people can feel that. Not everyone does. We're all different. And when I practiced on a friend to make her a Reiki channel, she's an artist. And when I taught her level 2, her husband at some stage was traveling for work, and she did Reiki on him, and she could describe his room. Being an artist, she has that visual quality in her mind. And we're all different. Not everyone can do that, of course. So it's, I trust the energy doing what it does. And I've seen so many results, so I know I can totally trust it. And it has its own intelligence. Even if a client says, "Oh, my knees are hurting," yeah, I can put my hands on your knees. But I explain as well that Reiki will work on that, but it will find where that person needs more energy. It could be emotional, could be another part of the body, could be mental. So it is really effective. The funny thing is, last week I worked on a client who had hip problems, and she could feel the energy go up her spine into her brain. So it's really flowing through the whole body. So I still practice, and it's amazing. So after all these years, I'm so impressed by the results, and I'll share about my dog. She was a beautiful Maremma, and when she was 8, she had trouble getting off the floor. Her hips caused a problem, and the vet had said if the anti-inflammatories don't work, then she's got arthritis, being a large dog. And so obviously they didn't work. And one evening she was lying on a good hip, and I sat on the floor next to her with a box of tissues, and I put my hands on the other hip, barely touching the hair, and having the long hair, about that long, barely touching the hair. She bit me twice. She didn't hurt me, but it was to warn me that it was hurting her. So I lifted my hands a bit higher and sat there for half an hour with her. And after half an hour, at the end of the half an hour, she moved a little bit, and I thought, you know what? It's fine. I'm going to bed now. When I came back from work the next day, when I opened the door, she had a big smile on her face, and she was twirling around, jumping in and out of the house, twirling around, kept looking at me with a smile on her face. And I thought, oh, wow, Chantik, look at you. Amazing. So I sat on the couch and my legs were a bit separated, and 3 times she packed her bottom against my knee and looked at me with that big smile on her face and kept running around, twirling around, and the pain never came back. She was totally fine again, which was amazing. And another example I had that was amazing was that my cat had injured a pigeon that was lying near the front door, the poor thing. And so I sat there near the front door with the pigeon between my hands, and then the pigeon moved a little bit, and it jumped out from between my hands, and it started walking with its right wing in front of the legs, and my cat following it. So I shooed the cat away, picked up the pigeon, put it inside the house in a box with a towel over it. And being a public holiday, I did Reiki on the pigeon between cleaning. And at the end of the day, being in Melbourne, I looked at the age, and in those days they had those, you could emergency numbers for animals, for people. And they guided me to a lady who had an aviary close to where I lived. And she said she's got an aviary where she looks after injured birds. So my daughter and I, who you can see on the photo, we brought the pigeon to her, and then she picked the pigeon out of the box and spread one wing and then the other wing, and she said, "It's fine." Wonderful. And another example I had with a young man, he was in his mid-20s, approximately that age, and after a sport injury, he couldn't work anymore. He couldn't sit for a long time. And he came and booked in, and he was lying face down, and I put my hands on his back. And at the end, he said, "Oh, your hands were moving inside my body." And I said, "No, I barely moved my hands." And then he booked in for the next session, and I explained that he couldn't expect the same change, the same feeling, because he would have changed a little bit, or could have. It's not a strict thing that it will happen, but it can happen. And yes, he felt the same again, which was amazing. And he had improved, which is fantastic. So yeah, all those experiences, I'm so grateful that where I am today, my heart is open. Even having lost my husband a year and a half ago, it still, Reiki supports me in going through that process and learn more and grow more. And that's where I've become passionate to share about, when we live from midlife onwards, we can have a life to live. It's important to find something that engages you with life, with your happiness, and with people. And so, yes, thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited and passionate about this whole thing, and I hope this will transfer to people feeling a similar way. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for sharing your story. It's beautiful. It's incredible to see how Reiki has multiple applications. We can use it, of course, on people, on our friends and family and clients, but animals equally benefit from healing, and from my experience, plants as well. So it's sort of universal healing modality. Thanks for sharing.
May, for 2 seconds. I had a car that had lots of technical problems, and when I felt something was happening, I used the first symbol on the steering wheel, and I could feel a little change. So it works on things like that too. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Anne. Our next panel speaker is Jaimee Mayne. Jaimee is a founder and director of Jaimee Kate Australia. She runs meditations, activations, and ceremonies. Her mantra is exploring the human experience together. And she's really focused on bringing the community together and having community experience healing and uplifting in a sort of healing communal way. She's a motivational speaker and meditation teacher, and also Sui Reiki master. And her journey covers areas of psychology, philosophy, and the science of human body. She was interested in how stress manifests in the human body, and is it possible to measure physiological signs of stress. So she was inspired to do biomedical engineering at Swinburne University of Technology. And I heard from Jaimee that one thing is to learn how to measure stress, and it's a whole nother story how to actually manage and heal, actually manage stress and heal the negative effects of stress that we accumulate. So if you want to learn more about Jaimee's work, her website is jaimeekataustralia.com. Have a look at her offerings, and Jaimee will join us now and share her story and how she found Reiki supporting her through her work and personal healing. So Jaimee, take it away and share your beautiful experience with us.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and we just had a quick chat before we invited everyone in, and I mentioned how Reiki calls you back when you need it most, and it was actually an email about today and presenting to ARC that brought Reiki more to the forefront of my life again. I had a little bit of time last year where I wasn't doing it super actively, but of course Reiki is always there when we need it and comes in cycles. So what about me? I think we hear in mainstream about depression and anxiety and mental health issues, but I definitely dealt with stress, overwhelm, people pleasing, feeling a lot of pressure as a high school student and university student. So it was in 2016, I was on a road trip with a friend, and we were talking about our past and our background. And I just kind of almost, we put our hands on our heart, but I thought, what about me? What are my practices to fill up my cup? I had been graduated from university for 12 months. I'd been an elite rower. I'd rowed in Sydney, Tasmania, New Zealand, always trying really hard in academics, and trying to give my all to communities that I was involved in, giving my heart and soul. So yes, I came from a loving family, and many, many people in my family that are beautiful and treat me so well. But I did live in 2 homes during high school, dad's house, mum's house, blended families. And like I said, those internal pressures of trying to always do my best and to really make a difference in the communities. And in year 11 and 12, we had some health issues with one of my grandfathers, my dad's dad. He was quite sick, and only 3 or 4 months after he passed away, my mum's dad passed away extremely suddenly. And so there was a lot of things happening in the family. We all have challenges in life, and I finished high school and I went to Swinburne to do biomedical engineering and absolutely loved it. But there became a time where I hadn't really unpacked some things that had happened in childhood and university. And so in late 2016, I left my engineering job at the time. And I say I took a gap year at 25. It was 2 best years of my life thus far. And I did level 1 and level 2 Reiki in early 2017, and really gave myself 2 years to just be with my emotions, to do puzzles, to sit in community, and did a lot of things. So you can read a little bit about that journey from 2019, ARC newsletter, my connection between science and spirituality. But I really want to kind of jump to what's happened since 2019. So just the benefits of Reiki, I guess, during this time and continuing on. I had a new lens to observe the world through Reiki, energy, frequency, and vibration. Having come from a very scientific background, obviously my engineering degree. Reiki goes so much beyond our physical body, and what I really love is how it ripples into our environment, our workplaces, our friends, our family. There's so many different ways that Reiki and our change in perception and our change in lifestyle, where Reiki is really a system and a way to assist us in living a healthy and happy life. I always had a lot of tension in my shoulders, in my neck. I'd just been carrying the world on my shoulders. And in 2017 and 2018, my posture changed. I could feel my collarbones for the first time. The tension in my feet and my toes relaxed. So there was a really big physical sensation that happened to me at that time as I started to implement these energy practices into my life. And what I wanted to say, the gift that Reiki and the system of Usui Reiki has given me is to witness my own bright light. We talk about, universal life force energy, and I was scared of the energy that I could transmit or to cultivate in my body, whether that's the connection to Mother Earth and a grounding, centering energy, or, the connection up above and that bright white light coming in. And through my teachings of training in Reiki, I felt comfortable to embrace all of me and to shine and smile and have childlike innocence and to be my authentic self. So that was kind of, what was happening then in my life. And as we know, Reiki has a really divine intelligence, and life is full of challenges and obstacles. And so, the universe wanted to see, Jaimee, what have you learnt? So when we teach our students, or in Reiki, we say, when we're full of energy and we're full of life, that's when we can look at challenges and obstacles with a new motivation and a new energy. And that's definitely what happened to me. So I'm excited to share what happened. So in August of 2019, I had self-published a book called Engineering Bliss, Becoming an Engineer and a Spiritual Being. And I was really excited. I put this book out into the world, and then I kind of sat there for a few months. And I was literally like, what's next? Like, I've got this book, I'm, kind of doing this thing. And anyway, Spirit sent me back to the hospital. I'd been a biomedical engineer previously. I'd worked in intensive care at the Royal Children's Hospital. And I went to work at a major Melbourne trauma hospital. And then obviously a few months later in 2020, COVID hit our shores. And it's really powerful for me to kind of talk about my experience and to reflect on that time. Obviously, there was a lot of fear happening, but I just felt like whatever was going to eventuate, I would be okay. And I would have the practice of Reiki and communities to be able to meet the challenges that happened. So yeah, I felt strong and supported, and I could refer to the mantra of just for today. So if I had a bad day or a sad day, just for today. We talked about grounding. So while I was working at the hospital during COVID, I would it fluctuated. Every day wasn't exactly the same. But at times I had a morning practice of picking a Reiki principle, and then that Reiki principle would support me for the whole day. So it might be gratitude, or it might be just for today, do not worry. And that really supported me, as well as having an evening practice, doing a small meditation before I went to sleep, bringing that energy into my hara, and, having gratitude just for that day. And then what I really want to talk about was Reiki community. We kind of have our inner communities of who we taught with, our Reiki master. We have community here today in the ARC and the in-person and group sessions we have with ARC. And we also have our global community. And to think about other Reiki practitioners around the globe and around the world that were sending Reiki and supporting each other during what was literally a global pandemic. And then sending Reiki to medical devices. And, I say this, people, will ask me questions, how did you use Reiki in the hospital? And Reiki is a part of me. It's part of how I go about my daily life and my daily work. But there was, two situations. One was decommissioning ventilators. I worked really closely with ventilators, and I would say, thank you for your service. Thank you for all the people that you've helped breathe over years, decades, to think about the people in ICU, that these medical devices had, literally played a role in keeping them alive. And something that I'm really proud of was I was involved in setting up, we called it Pod E. It was an additional ICU ward, which we needed to bring about the middle of late 2021. Our 4 pods of ICU were hot and had COVID patients, and we needed a 5th one, which was cold, which had non-COVID ICU patients. And I played a fairly active role in helping to set up the medical equipment for that ICU environment. And so I would put in the configurations and the settings, and it was never a really big deal. It's not like I sat there with my hands for a full half an hour, but I would acknowledge these pieces of medical equipment and say, thank you for being here. Go out into the world and support these people in their journeys and that process of, supporting the patients at that time. And Reiki really helped me in stressful situations at the hospital. There was another one when we got a call about a computer system had gone down. And so me and my manager, we went into this clinical environment, and I would just walk in and I would focus on my feet, and I would focus on grounding and connecting to the earth and being calm and relaxed. And my manager would say, "Oh, you're so good under stress and pressure." And I would just, have these little mantras in my mind as I was going about my day. So that was just one example of when we have Reiki in our life, we can use it in these moments of stress or difficult situations. So here's a few of my Reiki reflections that I wanted to share with you. So Reiki is not something I do, but something that I am. And it's started to become, or is something that I embody, and the principles of just for today, do not worry, and just to go about it as who we are as people. It's not only a daily practice, it is a daily practice, and it's also a way of life. I think gratitude and kindness go a long way in our happiness in our life. And I'm really quite humbled and excited to see on social media, podcasts, the people that I interact with. There's a lot of change and chaos happening in the world, but how can we impact our own lives and our own communities? And I think if in doubt, if you don't know what to do, have some kindness to the people around you. It's very simple, but can mean a lot to others around you, even if it's just a smile or, a hello as you walk down. Reiki has helped to support myself and to hold myself, whether it's, physical self-practice of physical touch. But as I move into doing somatic works and meditation, knowing that I'm energetically supported and that it's okay to feel the feelings, as we sometimes have difficult emotions, difficult physical sensations come up, that I am supported by the Reiki energy, the Reiki community, and my spirit guides. It's also helped me to ask for support when I need it. So I've had a really life-changing couple of weeks and months, and I went and I said to a good friend, "Can I have a distance Reiki?" And so I had a treatment a week ago, and I've got another treatment on Tuesday. So reminding ourselves as practitioners that we can also go and ask for support and healing, that's also important. So yeah, I guess Reiki, energy medicine, thinking about frequency and vibration has changed my life, and not only my physical body, my health and well-being, but as Anne said, it's, becoming my profession, my career direction. And my heart opens when I share and tell my story. And if Reiki is a part of me sharing and telling my story, then that's something I'm really excited to do. Yeah, I think that was, the general aspect that I had to say. And on my website, if you scroll down, I have a couple of podcasts where I've been a guest and some different writing and online meditations. But yeah, it's just really beautiful to be here and to think about stress and trauma in a different way. And I mentioned briefly to some other people about the mental health first aid course. That was something that helped me in the terminology of stress and trauma to feel more comfortable with those conversations. So thank you. And I look forward to any questions or comments that you might have following this.
Thank you so much, Jaimee. That was wonderful. I've learned a lot about what you've done in your life. It's quite impressive. And just knowing that people like you do exist in our hospitals and places of healing, like where people receive help, it makes a huge difference. And it's great to hear that you've done that actively where you were, and I bet there were other practitioners who did the same. And we know of some ARC members who also did a lot of work during COVID era. And that's beautiful. It does make a difference. Now, I am going to thank both Anne and Jaimee for bringing their expertise and giving their time to share their wisdom. And I now open the floor to questions. Has anyone got any questions? Go, Helen.
Hello, everyone. Jaimee, great talk. Thank you. You talked about the what was it, medical first aid course. Can you elaborate on it a little?
Yeah, so there's obviously lots of things I've learned at the hospital, but I started to be interested in the peer support program, which originally started as graduate nurse peer support, and that did a whole range in the wellbeing team. But the hospital actually paid for me to do a mental health first aid course. Okay. Yeah, so it's mental health. It's a 2-day course. It was a little bit confronting, and I'm glad I'd kind of done some work in that area to start with. But it was talking about trauma and suicide and different types of mental health issues, psychosis, depression. But what I learnt was it talked about acute situations, and then when we kind of needed some preventative care and how to pick up on those issues earlier. So, the concept of burnout and those kind of things. So it really helped me with my language. And if you are concerned about someone, it was not about help. It was not about fixing the problem, but it was all about helping them to get resources and for them to make their own decision about them seeking help. And you could give them suggestions about text messages, online aspects, different websites, and how to have that conversation. I'm just concerned about you. I've noticed that you're behaving differently. So some little prompts which were not intrusive, but sometimes it was about being direct with the person.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Has anyone else got a question? John?
Question for Anne, and then I have one ready for Jaimee. Is Anne, how do you adapt your Reiki sessions for clients who may be hesitant about touch or have heightened sensitivity due to trauma? Is it the same as you did with the animals, or with humans? How do you do it if they have that sensitivity?
Well, to be honest, most of my clients book in for reflexology, and I explain to them that Reiki works as I work on them, and I finish working on the feet, putting my hands like that on the soles of the feet for about 5 minutes. And at the end, they said they could feel the energy flowing up. But yes, depending on what their problem is, certainly hips and knees, I tend to put my hands on there for 5-10 minutes as well. And even a nurse, and there's a testimonial video on my website about this nurse. She had trouble with her back and her knees, and it helped her a lot. So that was fabulous. So I follow my intuition, and I follow their guidance a bit as well. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go in, ask a question.
Sorry, can I just add a little bit more to that question? Is that okay? I think, with Anne talking about touching the feet, it's a reminder to us, and I'm glad John asked it, about explaining to our clients before we jump on the table or, before we start the session, Reiki can work about having it above the body and not physically touching, or also, are they comfortable with touch? I have found occasionally people are more comfortable with touch because they know exactly where you are and they're not going to go in their mind of questioning. Something I wanted to touch on was sexual harassment and really understanding in my life how common sexual harassment is. And it can be from the individual or it can be, something that's passed on over time. And I'm just really proud to be able to create that safe space with young women, especially, that they feel comfortable. And I'll touch either their hip or their lower back and just gently touch it and see where they're okay with. But one particular client, it was really heartwarming that she felt safe in that space. And I felt like we were able to move a lot of that trauma around the pelvic sacral area. So it's all about having those open conversations and communication with the client before you start.
Yeah, when I learned Reiki, it was only hands-on. It was only years later that I saw the hands above the body, and I thought, wow. So now I understand it works.
Yeah. Go ahead, Annie.
A long time ago, fairly early in my Reiki journey, a Reiki friend brought to my Reiki night a dear friend of hers who was completely uncomfortable being touched. And the way we handled it, and she wasn't a Reiki channel, the friend that was uncomfortable being touched. We took her off into another room and sat her in a chair. And both my Reiki friend and I beamed Reiki to her. And in fact, we started off standing fairly close, but then we backed away, kind of going, is this okay? Is this okay? Until we were probably about 5 feet away from her. And that was a comfortable distance for her, but she could, weirdly, and this tripped her out a bit, she could feel the Reiki coming to her. So we just Reiki'd at a distance while she sat in a chair. Does that answer something for you, John?
Yes, all of them do, and all of them in their own way, because Reiki works with everything, and it's a complementary therapy. So as Anne knows, with reflexology, we have so many nerve endings in our feet that affect all parts of our body. Therefore, Reiki on our feet can be especially helpful for a lot of areas as well, as other areas of the body. And Annie, you touched on the distant healing, which most certainly would work for people who don't like being touched or have issues culturally or emotionally. So yes, you've all answered it. Thank you very much. And then if I could actually ask another one for Jaimee, how do you find Reiki complements, other trauma-informed healing modalities, such as somatic therapy? Because you mentioned you were doing somatic therapy. It's another very interesting therapy.
So just something that I've, a little bit of a sidetrack, but when I was studying biomedical engineering, we were making models of the human body. And it really lit up my heart in first year as an undergraduate student. I made a model of the respiratory system and looked at different types of breathing. And, I did some independent analysis about the energy and the feedback loop. So breathing is so important to this healing response. And I think when we think about Reiki as a system, the breath and the meditations is a really important part, in addition to our hands-on healing and our principles. And for me, I think that the really deep healing has happened through somatic work of feeling the feelings, but having that sensation of either a white light or that inner knowing that I'm energetically supported, it has allowed me to open up to those physical sensations and those physical expressions. So an example is 2 weekends ago, I had a retreat on the Great Ocean Road. We went to a park and did some yoga and breath work. And because I'd been doing this work and I was feel comfortable being held in that environment, there was a practitioner there, I was able to scream and breathe and really release some quite intense childhood trauma. And it just all came up, and it was just, I'd felt it that morning. It was actually on the full moon eclipse 2 weeks ago, that Saturday. I'd felt it that morning, that Saturday morning, these sensations and memories arose in my mind. And so having that energetic support allowed me, that visceral, verbal screaming, crying, to let that come out. And that was like, this is stuff that I'm doing at the moment, daily, weekly. I'm going through an intense process at the moment. But to give a really Reiki example, I was on the bed doing level 2 Reiki. I was a student. I had 2 Reiki masters in the room. And I had a similar response from some sexual harassment, which, you know, that emotion and that energy came up and arose while I was on the Reiki bed. And having that memory and that support of being in a safe space on the Reiki bed has allowed me to do that trauma release in other spaces, whether it's a retreat or breath work or somatic work. But the foundation is all from the Reiki bed. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, I can relate to the breathing aspect as an asthmatic, so I do find that and Reiki helps. But thank you.
Thank you, Jaimee. Thank you, Anne. Do we have any more questions?
I'd just like to make a comment for Jaimee, and I really appreciate your openness about your ability to release and scream and sort of let things go, because I've got a recent client who has had a similar experience of uncovering sort of early childhood sexual abuse, and she feels safe in my practice that she can scream and shout. So it's really great to have that sort of knowing that I'm offering that safe space and that it's sort of, it happens all the time. So that gives me sort of comfort to know that sort of I'm holding space for her, and it's a great healing opportunity. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure, Jackie. Yeah, sounds like you're doing beautiful work, and like everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Elaine. Go ahead.
Hi everyone. This is the first time I've ever connected with this group, and I'm getting the impression that most people here are practitioners, maybe, which I'm not. So somehow came to be here, but I have over the last 18 months really discovered meditation, breathwork, energy centers, which has been incredible experience. And my response is I have a lot of energy flowing, so I'm really drawn to the energy center chakra work, and more I get a lot of energy in my hands. I'm almost feeling it as I speak now, and I didn't really know what it all meant, but I knew it was really important. That was the only way I could describe it, and I knew I was getting something from it, and everything else. So it's been a massive personal journey. But on Tuesday this week, I had my first ever Reiki session, and it was massive. It was huge. And so I'm really curious to find out a bit more. And I'm wondering, I mean, it was going to be a question I thought for Anne and Jaimee, but probably can go to the whole group. Like, where's a good place to start in terms of exploring it as doing training, being a practitioner. I mean, I haven't given you all the background of what I do for a job and everything, but yeah, what is there a resource to go to? Like,
thank you, Jaimee. That's beautiful that you actually voiced where you are at, and you actually got to the right place. And I'll let John tell you a little bit more how we go about recommending finding a teacher or taking this path on. So John, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Elaine. Actually, I'm also the president of the Australian Reiki Connection.
Okay.
So first of all, if you go to our website, australianreikiconnection.au, there's a lot of information there. But I make the comment because you actually are expressing it and feeling it. We all have a natural ability to heal, and how I like to describe it to my clients is, we all have this energy, and it's like if you imagine a light bulb in the ceiling and a light switch on the wall. The electricity is going from the switch to the light bulb, but until you flick that switch and open the flow of electricity, that's the same with Reiki and energy. We all have it. But when you do Reiki training and you're attuned by the Reiki master teacher in their physical presence, if you like it switches it on. And it allows it to flow. We don't control it. It flows naturally. And we're just facilitators of self-healing. For self-healing and for healing others. But I always say the best way to find a Reiki teacher is word of mouth, and also then go and have a Reiki treatment as you did, and see how you get on with that. But on the website, we also have a list of questions that you can ask a Reiki teacher. And we have also in our directory, we have a directory for practitioners, but we also have a separate directory for Reiki teachers in and around Australia. And you may find someone, I'm assuming you're in Australia?
I am. Sorry, my accent is very confusing for people.
Well, that's okay. I think my Irish accent
as I'm sure yours is too.
But so, you can search by region, name, or suburb. And, the list of questions. The thing about the Reiki teachers we refer, they're only those who meet the criteria. Since 2017, all Reiki teachers have submitted their Reiki manuals to me and me alone for review. And that's only to ensure that the core basic values of Reiki are being maintained. And while, Reiki has evolved, many other things have been introduced, but the specifics is to ensure that the teacher informs the students that they're not part of the traditional Usui system, but it's something that my teacher taught me, etc. So Reiki has evolved, but the core basic values should always be maintained. And so if you have any queries, etc., feel free to email me directly. My email address is simply president@australianreikiconnection.au, and I'm more than happy to assist in any way I can.
Amazing. Thank you.
As are any of the other committee members, and if anybody else here has any other advice.
So
from a non-president role.
I can say, just add to that, I have popped in the chat a link for our website, also link for the past events that we had run in the last year and the year before. You can watch some of those based on topic, find more information. And there is also a link for Reiki Teachers directory. Once you go there, you can sort of look for practitioners as well. What John said, word of mouth is probably like the best way. However, if you're finding hard to source your teacher in that way, definitely visit directory. And like, we are intuitive, and I think once we awaken to this energy, we sort of feel drawn to a certain name or a person or whatever comes at us. So some members of ARC will have their photo there or their logo for their website. You can explore it that way. But as John said, if you email John or a association, we will be able to assist you
Yeah.
if you have trouble sourcing your teacher. And yeah.
Well, I might inquire with the the practitioner that ran my session, because she was, she was amazing, and she said she wrote some notes, and she said I was a light channel, and that my opening was very quick and huge, and which it was, and she had to give me some grounding crystals to bring me right back to this world. So it was a big experience. Yeah. Fascinating. Amazing.
Well, welcome to this
Thank
journey.
you. Yeah. And obviously I did a bit of searching prior to that, which is how I came across this group. So things start to move, don't they? I think. Yeah.
Beautiful. You're lucky you came to the right place.
Yeah, looks like it. Thank you.
Yeah. In now it's 11 o'clock. I would like to ask, we sort of have an hour for the session and a little bit more for further questions and answers. I just wanted to ask Anne and Jaimee a very quick question. It's sort of related to this topic, but also Reiki in general. And I'll ask Anne to answer first and then Jaimee to finish up. My question is, having this experience of Reiki helping you through trauma and stress situations, where do you see yourself in future, or what is next for you, or how you can further bring this practice to others? Have you anything planned for the future? So we know about it. Go ahead.
I've been saying that I would keep working till I die. Like I said, I'm very energetic. I'm still, people think I'm 60. And that's not only Reiki, of course, it's lifestyle mindset. And that's where I've been passionate to share more about this with women around menopause. I saw a lot of them as clients, and it looks like their life is closed, that there's no future. And I share with them that they can have a purpose, a life with purpose, with health, with energy and mobility. And PHEM, which is femme in French, but it's also for men, of course. Yes, like I said, when I worked as a secretary, only 3 jobs lasted a bit longer, but the others, I didn't keep learning. I couldn't grow. I couldn't go sideways. And with this, I never, ever get bored. This is, it makes my heart sing when clients say, oh, this is how I felt after last treatment. Sometimes I don't cry, but I feel my eyes like, wow. And I was even able to say, to my friend, thank you for introducing me to your Reiki master, even though in those days I didn't know to look for the right person. And she wasn't totally the right person, but thanks to a reflexology teacher who was a Reiki master as well, she invited me to attend level 2, didn't charge me. And it was amazing, instead of being taught one-to-one. But the other thing I was able to say to my ex-husband, and I think, John, you know him from memory, I was able to say to him many years ago, I said, thank you for leaving us, but it helped me find my purpose and what I wanted to do, and I'm so excited with it. So, yeah. His name is John as well. You know him? Motorbike? Yeah.
Thank you, Anne. That's great. That's great. Keep going.
And I forgot to mention something about my sister, an accident that happened to her. Is it okay to share that now?
Yeah, if you give it like a few minutes, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah, my sisters still live in Belgium. They never left it. And one day my younger sister was walking in the forest with her 2 dogs, and suddenly she saw a horse galloping with a saddle on it and no person was sitting on top. So she thought, so she bent down to hold her dogs to protect them and to protect the horse. And the horse kicked her on the head. And it was, wow, she had a fracture and she had blood coming out and spinal fluid coming out. And luckily someone found her. She went to hospital, and the specialist said, for the rest of your life, you'll have problems with concentration, focus, and memory. And our other sister contacted me about it, and that was the time I was still teaching. So I contacted my level 2 students, and I asked them to work on my sister. And that younger sister is a Reiki channel as well, so she would have had her own community in Belgium as well. And a few years later, when I visited her there, I said, how are you going? She said, I'm fine. You and I know why. And one day we're standing in a queue for us to buy tickets for May on the train. And we were talking. And a bit later, our middle sister contacted me and said, oh, my boss was standing behind you. And I thought, oh my gosh, what did we talk about? And nothing nasty, of course. And then I called my younger sister and I said, oh, what did we talk about? And she knew exactly what we talked about. So that injury with Reiki, it healed her fully. Fabulous.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story about how Reiki does what he does. Yeah, incredible. Jaimee, what would you like to share?
What would I like to
in the
share?
future for you?
In the future. In the short, immediate term, I'm going to be hosting a meditation in Williamstown on a Wednesday evening, and also a cacao ceremony in early May. But what I wanted to share is, you know, I'm really at the precipice. You know, there's something that's unfolding and changing in my life, and there's a lot of surrender to see what happens next. And I mentioned that it really lights up my heart to speak and to share my story, but I just wanted to share it. You know, it's something that happened to me when I was 15 years old. I was in year 10, and I was going to say I didn't know about Reiki, but we actually had a Reiki friend who my dad had had some sessions with when I was younger. And I remember she'd given me Reiki at a party one day when I was about 10 years old. Like, I didn't really know what she was doing, but she knew that she could feel something in me, and she just put her hands on my shoulders. I just sat on her lap, and, you know, like someone giving you a hug, and she gave me a crystal. So there'd been Reiki in my life, but I wasn't super aware of it. But we had a motivational talk in year 10, you know, when they talk about work experience and careers. And we had this motivational speaker, and he did his little presentation, and then we did a meditation. And so he got us to close our eyes and kind of get into that meditative state. And he played some music, and he got us to look forward into the future. And once he finished, he said, oh, did anyone see anything, or did anyone have a vision? And I put my hand up because I did. Anyway, he called me onto stage and tried to do a little activity. And he said to me, oh, what did you witness, or what did you see? And I got a little bit emotional, or like taken back, because the vision I had was myself on stage talking to 15-year-olds. And so it was this really weird situation of being a 15-year-old and like having my peers in front of me. But at that time, I kind of was really questioning, why did motivational speakers and public speakers often have a traumatic event or a disability or some kind of major obstacle that happened in their life? And so now I've been able to alchemize or transmit that aspect of my past from traumatic and difficult. And now I use the word initiation. So I've kind of been through this initiation and had these experiences to strengthen how I center myself, how I ground myself. And we will, you know, see what happens. I think something's going to unfold in the next 12 months. Maybe some travel, maybe some speaking, maybe, you know, some hands-on healing. It's open to the universe to be guided, but yeah, lots of things. I'm also on Instagram. I'm probably most active on Instagram if there's anyone that wants to connect over there. So yeah, thank you for letting me share those little stories.
Thank you so much, Jaimee. Thank you. Now, before we end the session, I just want to share the last slide, or last two slides for today. Australian Reiki Connection hosts these events for a clear purpose of making connections, informing public about what Reiki is and how it works, and who practitioners and teachers are in our community. So come along for the next one in May, on 25th of May, 7 p.m. this time. It's going to be a Reiki and Wellness panel discussion, an open-ended one. And we'll see what we're going to be talking about in that one. It's sort of a mystery box. And then we have one in July. It's about maximizing Reiki's benefits. And then the last one on 28th of September, it's going to be about learning Reiki and actually how someone is able to find a Reiki teacher. And I'm a little bit sad that Elaine left just before seeing this one, but she will be in touch. And she will know about this. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook for updates. And last but not least, I want to say thank you to Anne and Jaimee again for their time and expertise and sharing wisdom, and also for everyone who attended and asked questions. Also to ARC for hosting this event and for providing space for us to come together and share our wisdom. So in saying that, I want to say thanks again for everyone for coming today, and I'll see you at the next event. Have a good day, and yeah, take care of yourselves, practice Reiki, give Reiki, and enjoy life. It's a gift.